seconds. Make sure everything's connected properly here. Probably is, but you never know. All right. So it looks like we are connected and good to go. All right. So, hello and welcome. I'm ThatStevenRice, and I'm doing yet another live stream of fun today. Mainly because, why not? Wanted to just get something kind of going here and everything, and we have a few things to be able to go ahead and work on for everybody today. So, we're just going to go ahead and do that. And make sure everything is properly connected. I see my YouTube people. We are here already. However, I need to double check my Twitch stream and make sure that Twitch is with me today as well. So let's take a look here. Cool. Twitch is up and running as well. Perfect. So what we're going to be doing here today is I'm working on a poster for a independent film that I just got kind of hired to do. You can see it is right there in front of you, pretty clear as day. So what it is. Now I've been having some problems with Photoshop, so I will probably have to kind of clear it out and restart it many times, but that happens. So this is a really super quick concept sketch for the actual poster itself. This was done maybe 5 minutes or so just to kind of get an idea down. So what we're going to be working on today for the next couple of hours is taking this concept that I have and actually fleshing it out and making sure that it is presentable. And when it comes down to showing it to the writer director who hired me here. So let me restart my Photoshop real quick because it is frozen yet again, which I don't know why it does that, but it does it pretty often. So we're going to close this out and get everything back up and running real quick, and we will go from there. As long as you have a little bit of patience with me, we'll be all right. Go. I'll tell you what, when it comes down to being your own kind of boss, to being kind of, working on stuff and needing to really focus your attention on everything when it comes to finding clients, when it comes to making sure that you're not overcharging, to every little tiny stupid aspect of being a freelance artist is pretty hectic and pretty chaotic. And the fact that I was thrown head first into being one. Like, I've been doing art for about 6 years or so, but I was literally thrown headfirst into it. Like, I don't have an option other than for this to succeed. So that's kind of where we're at with everything. Is if this doesn't work, there's not going to be very much goodness going on in the world, because I rely on this for literally everything at this point. Making sure this art thing works is what's going to keep food in my belly and in my son's belly, and it's going to be what keeps a roof over our heads. So trying to make sure that that everything's doing the best that it can is a little nerve-wracking, especially when you're a single dad. You know, trying to make sure that you have the time, especially with summer coming up, to spend with your son, who's only 5, and he doesn't understand money as much as someone who's a little bit older will. It's nerve-wracking, to say the very, very least. So that's where we're kind of at in the grand scheme of things. So what I'm going to do is I'll quit yapping just for a little bit, and we're going to wipe out the concept, and I'm going to just put down my initial sketch again. We're just going to duplicate them and boom, get those up there. So this is my initial just quick little sketch of a gas mask and things like that, and I have more stuff coming in on the phone. Joys and the wonders, as it were. So yeah, that's right. I'm not turning off my phone alerts. I need to know when stuff happens. That's the way it goes. So first thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be refining the sketch, because you can tell it's a gas mask. I know you can tell it's a gas mask, but you know, it's just kind of mostly plain. It's not dynamic. There's nothing really to it. So that's going to be the first thing that I'm going to dive in here and work on. Alrighty. And keep in mind, the chat room is open and good to go if you decide to join. There we go. You can see my chatty chat right there. So everything's working, and I'm looking at it. So you can ask questions, chat away. Because why not? Just the way it goes. All right. So let's get this sketch. I'm just going to lower the opacity, and we'll start sketching this a little bit better. Actually draw it out some. Now I went through, because I do get copies of the, well, in this instance at least, I got a copy of the actual film itself, and there was no existing concept that the director had, like at all. He produced and wrote a film that I did earlier last year, and he liked the work I did on that, and he wanted me to do his new film, which is the best thing to hear when you think about it is, hey, I like the work you did for me previously, here's another job. So that's where we're kind of at. I know last stream I was using Clip Studio Paint, which is a fantastic program. However, it's a fantastic program for me just kind of working on my own projects and everything. I want to make sure that I stick with the program that I'm used to for the paying gigs. Because there's a certain quality to the work that I do that's what people hire me for. They usually don't want too much experimentation or anything like that. So, can I blame them? Well, I could, but it'd be dumb. That's pretty much what it comes down to. Because it's their vision too. You know, they spent a lot of money to make a movie, and they feel that I'm going to be the best person to help them advertise that movie. So why not? So with that said, I know I have no watchers right now, but if you're watching this later, If you have any questions, definitely leave a comment down below. If you're watching it on YouTube, which is most likely where you are watching it then. And we can go from there. And it'll be a splendidly good time. I am going to be going ahead, and at some point, hopefully relatively soon, I will be putting out a course on various platforms on poster design and the kind of like the Drew Struzan style technique, and the different things that I do when doing a design, because I started off wanting to mimic Struzan because that's what I grew up with. That's the style I grew up with. It was the posters that I adored the most. And, to have to, well, not to have to, but I, wanted to adopt those techniques to a digital age, and you realize pretty quickly when you're doing that type of adaptation from real airbrushes and stuff, and you're bringing that into a more digital world, that not all the same techniques work, because you're just working with pixels, and it's a dreaded word to some people out there in terms of being a digital artist. There's major directors out there who are like, oh, well, if you're doing your work on your computer, it's not the same. And it's not exactly the same, but it is very, very familiar. And when you're talking, like, if you're sitting down and talking with artists who do their digital work, who are actually being very well recognized for their work, and I sat down and had a conversation with an artist about maybe a year or so ago. I won't name drop, because what's the point? Am I going to get recognition for name dropping a famous artist? Not really. Anyway, I sat down and I was talking with him it was about maybe an hour or so. We were just chatting back and forth just about techniques and everything, and I kind of asked him a big question, because he's worked on some very major projects for people who are notorious for looking down on digital art. And I was like, do they know that you did everything digitally, or what's kind of happening? And he just said they didn't even ask. So if someone didn't even ask after they have been on record about the less than good nature of pixel pushers, and how it's just not the same as actually having a textured brush and all that kind of stuff, and toiling away and spending a lot of money on your oils and your acrylics and all that kind of fun stuff, that it's just not as worthy. Have them not even care is a spectacular thing to behold, in my opinion. And it's just what kind of happens. It is just what kind of happens, and eventually you don't get made fun of for it anymore. You're not seen as a pariah in the art world, which it was getting really bad for a while. There was this huge backlash against digital artists for a bit in various art communities, whether you were looking at them on Reddit or Facebook or anywhere. If you mentioned that you were a digital artist, immediately you'd be attacked, because you can just erase anything anytime you want. There's unlimited undos. There's no risk. There's no real artistry involved if you're just doing art digitally, which for some people that may be true. For me, I try to make my my art to be as close to traditional art as I can. So I try to use as few layers as I need to get my idea across. I try to erase instead of undoing. I've already did undo several times on this, but when it comes to the line art, sometimes it's just a little quicker for me. And it really, when any art is being created, it's about the final piece, and that's something Struzen said. And if you want to spend the time and really render something out from scratch, from your brain, and spend the 20-30 hours to make it perfect, and you got the result that you wanted from the piece, then that's perfect. There's no shame in that either. And like I said, I'm quoting Struzen here. This isn't my wise wisdom or anything like that. But it's, if you get the results you want and you're working in a professional capacity where you have to do a lot of stuff very quickly, it needs to get done now, it needs to be pushed forward quickly, then you got to really do whatever it takes to make it perfect. And I took that to heart, because people are like, well, you shouldn't trace anything, but if you want to get that portrait to look 100% right, and you need to do 7-8 portraits in less than a month, you're not going to be able to do that. And if you are able to do that quickly and still have them look right, then you're spending too much time and you're making less per hour than if you were just kind of going ahead and working fast food or in an office or something like that. It's just, why try to kill yourself working 50-60 hours on a piece if you're only going to make $5-10 an hour doing it? It depends. I'm not saying that's what I kind of do, but with me, I do work for Inspire Pro Wrestling. I have a retainer with them, and it's every month you're working on a new poster, new logos, new everything. So a lot of times titles will change hands in the wrestling industry. Titles will change hands and everything, and it just causes a headache if you're having to spend way too much time worrying about spending your entire day making one portrait right. So that's where you get your promo images and you trace in what you need to, and then you refine with your own artistic brain as much as you can. And it's one of the things, like with this concept, I did a lot of research because I watched the movie and there was no real good images of this gas mask, which plays a pretty major role in the film. And I thought, okay, well, what I need to do is I need to do some research then. Because when you look at gas masks nowadays are all more refined and everything, but this was an older gas mask, and I didn't get the chance to ask the writer or director exactly what the gas mask was in terms of if he knew the age of it, where it came from, or anything. But the gas mask in the movie definitely looked like it was from World War II, World War I kind of era, and didn't look like it was from America, from what I could tell. So I did research and was trying to figure out, well, where did this come from? Where, where did this gas mask probably originate from? And as I was doing research, the closest thing I could find, and I think it's right, is it looks like it's a gas mask from World War II era Belgium. So if it's a gas mask from World War II era Belgium, it matches up. So that's what I'm using as a reference. I might be wrong. It could just end up being like a movie prop or something like that. I don't know. But that's what matched up when I was looking. And it looks pretty similar to me. So that's what I'm going with. My whole Photoshop is just lagging so bad right now. I don't know why either, but that's alright. Well, frankly, it's probably because I don't have enough RAM in here. And on top of that, I'm working at 24 by 36, 330 DPI. Because I like them details, and I like making sure that, like I said, it's as close to proper and as close to traditional as possible. And anybody out there, they might be thinking, well, if you're looking to make something that's as traditional as possible, why not just work traditionally? Bust out your pens, bust out your paints, and do it that way. And hey, that sure is a swell idea if you have the money. However, when it comes down to it, for posters like this for independent films, I'm go ahead and I charge about $500 to do one right now. And when you break that down, depending on the amount of detail I want to get in there and stuff, I'm still only making maybe $15-20 an hour on it. Now imagine if I had to buy the supplies for that on top of everything, especially when I'm doing the revisions and stuff like that, where I'd have to say paint out an entire head of a character and then redo it, which I recently had to do on a poster that I did for the Theta Girl. And I went ahead and I worked with the director, and we got the image and we got it all done. I just kind of painted out the original portrait of the actor and popped it in. And we made a couple other tweaks, because if I was already going to be working on it, I might as well fix some things that I thought were flaws from the original poster. And the director loved it. He was happy as pie. However, the actor did not love it. So I spent all that time, and then I needed to go back and get them another copy of the original poster. So imagine, if you will, that happening if I was working traditionally. Instead of being able to do the quick fix that I could, by going in and just popping a new layer over the poster and painting in the new head, I would have had to take my original. I would have had to completely paint out that entire section, repaint stuff around it, paint the new head in, and then after all of that is said and done, go back and try to remake the original painting again. That would have cost a heck of a lot more than they were budgeted for this little change. and it would have been silly. It would just have been silly. So that's where working digitally works, and it's not as if I'm just popping down pictures, doing a little bit of editing and composition and stuff, which that's a fully valid form. And I know a few artists who do major work, who do work mostly with photo manipulation and everything, but they still put a lot of work into it. Gone, I honestly, for the most part, and there's still exceptions to this, but for the most part, gone are the days of just like 90s horror days where you just, let's take the photos from the promo shoots, let's just take those photos and let's put them in a line, and we'll just put them in a line, and now that they're in this line, we'll just tint it slightly blue, and now that it's slightly blue, it's perfect, because slightly blue means horror. And you know what, let's just make them look pretty and put a nice soft glowing filter around them too. For the most part, those days are gone. Very much gleefully, because frankly they were, a lot of really bad movies could have benefited if they would have just at least got a painted poster or something similar. But that's not what people wanted back then. Well, at least not what studios wanted back then. So if that's not what studios wanted, then they got what they wanted. But there's a lot of digital artists now who still put a lot of work in, even if they don't draw the image out the way I do. They put a lot of work into composition and making sure everything is right and that everything looks kind of good. Case in point, if there are movie buffs out there, just for reference, because I'm sure there's some of you happen to like some movies. There's the new Mission Impossible movie coming out. And I think they just released the poster for it not that long ago. Or I'm not sure if it was the new one or which one it was, but they released a new poster, and I know the guy who worked on that poster, and he put a lot of work into making that poster and that key artwork really, really stand out the best he can. I'm going to try to find a copy of it real quick and see if I can show you what I mean. Just heading to his Facebook page real quick. There it is. So, I know you can't see it quite yet, but you will see it in a moment. So that's the key artwork he did, working with it, and none of this lighting was there, and he had to composite a lot of stuff and everything. You're going to see this in a lot of places over the next year or so, probably. And even though it is photos, the composition, the layout, the way the colors working against each other, it all works, especially for a Mission Impossible movie. Mission Impossible movies, the fact that there's so many of them now, still boggles my mind. But Tom Cruise is still a bankable star, as far as I know. So he'll keep making movies until he can't make money anymore. Can't blame a guy. So stuff like this, people kind of sometimes look down on. It's gotten a lot better, and even though it's not the style that I personally like to work in, I've done stuff like this previously for book covers and things like that, and it's a lot more difficult than people think it is. And that goes even for very famous people. Like Steven Spielberg even spoke out against using photos for films and stuff because he sees it as kind of lazy. And it's honestly, it's just, I mean this the best I possibly can say. It's kind of more just ignorance on his behalf. And it's, if you don't understand technology and you don't understand the way things go, because I was really against it too when I was in art school and stuff like that, and things were going to the digital, and when it came down to just photo manipulation for posters and stuff, it just kind of, it angered me. It infuriated me that real artists, quote unquote, were losing work to a bunch of guys sitting in front of a computer just taking photos, plastering them in an order, doing a couple fades here and there, and just calling it a day. I always was like, they spend 5 minutes on this stuff and it's done. Whereas I'm sitting here and I'm trying to learn, actual artistic principles. Where do they get off trying to take jobs away from me? Once I'm out of school, they won't be able to do that because I am going to be in such high demand that there's nothing they can do about it. Incidentally, I got out of school and did absolutely nothing art-wise other than, sketching for myself. I did an album cover for one of my bands. That's about it. All the way until I was in my 30s. So, there you have it. A snobby, stupid 17-year-old kid thinking he was going to change the artistic world, who finishes and gets out and decides, hey, I'm going to run a video store for a while, because that surely is the same as being an artist in the film industry. Oh, hey, I'm going to manage call centers, because why not? That's surely a solid use of my time. Spoiler alert, it wasn't a good use of my time. It allowed me certain, creature comforts of being able to, eat and have places to live and stuff. But once you fall into that kind of trap, the scary trap of going ahead and having that fallback, you have that safety net. Well, I don't have to work on my art as much because, I'm making $15-$20 an hour at this job. So if I do one or two art projects, every few months, that's extra income, and my name will still get out there because I'm doing work and people will see it. And that's not the way it goes. At least in my experience. Sometimes that happens and it is the way it goes for people. It was not the way it went for me. I did a lot of really bad portrait work for some really bad clients for literally peanuts. Because this is, keep in mind, I graduated in 1999, and I didn't actually start working as an artist where I'd be getting paid for stuff until 2012, and that's late 2012, so closer to 2013, honestly, was when I started actually making stuff for people and making a little bit of money for it. So when you think of it that way, and you think, I'm in my 30s at that point then, and since I'm in my 30s, I thought that, well, I have so much knowledge under my belt and everything, and it shouldn't be hard to kind of do this. And people come to you, hey, I want a portrait from you, and you get excited. Okay, yeah, I want to work with you. And they tell you how much they want to spend, and you just say yes for literally pennies an hour at some points. I was doing work for one person who they didn't ever get anything commissioned before, and they were unsure on what the charge would be or anything like that, and they were polite and they're like, I don't want to lowball you or anything like that, but here's what I'm actually kind of looking to spend. And just because I wanted that little bit extra income for the month, I immediately said yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, that's not a problem. I can do this insanely detailed, intricate portrait for $70. Sure, why not? Oh, you want to throw a whole bunch of other elements in there? Like what? Oh, okay. And there was all types of crazy stuff thrown in there in terms of buildings and vehicles, and it just kind of grew and grew and grew into this massive piece of art. And I spent overall, I would say I spent probably maybe 100 hours on this piece over the course of a few months. So, I mean, when you think about it, if you're spending, 100 might be a little bit high in terms of price there, but if you're spending 100 hours on something, right, and you divide that, by the $75 that you're getting, so you're getting $75, right? But you take that 100 hours and you do the math, and it's ridiculously low, the amount of money you're making. You're making a little bit over $1 an hour, maybe. Why would you do that to yourself? And that was something I struggled with too, because I kept doing it. I kept doing it for people, and a lot of friends and stuff like that, they would want pieces, and that's a little bit different. If you want to do something for a friend and they don't have the money to pay you, but it's for a special gift, or something like that. Back then I would be like, you know what? I'm doing a special, everybody. And you know what this special is? This special is I will paint anything that you would want portrait-wise. You just give me a subject and I'll do it for you. And I will do it for $5. And I literally did that. I literally would spend hours on a piece for somebody that I was getting $5 for. Like, it's absurd. Like, looking back on it, this was the beginning of kind of like the beginning of my career kind of thing, and it's like, why am I getting paid a penny an hour? All right, it might not have been that dramatic, but why am I getting paid so low? Like, where did that $5 end up when you think about it? Like, because a lot of it was, for friends at my day job and stuff like that. And, they'd pay me in cash, and then I'd email them the file within the next day or two. I'd work on it during my lunch breaks and stuff like that, and just kind of go from there. So I'm doing that, but during my lunch break I would spend $6-7 on food, so I'd have something to eat from the calf. I'd go in and spend that money, and before I even got paid, before I even finished the project, the money was gone, because I spent it on the food at lunch, that I was working on the project in. So I would do the stupidest stuff. And really, and some people are like, well, that's how you learned. You learn from your mistakes. And that's true. And it's true. And knowledge is really important. Don't get me wrong. But $5 to do something like that just seems ridiculous to me. And I see it on Tumblr, and I see it on all these different sites and stuff, and Instagram and everything, where and it's not this detailed of a style, but they're doing anime styles and they're doing all this stuff, where it's like, really, they're spending so much time for so little benefit. And if you're a school age kid or something like that, I guess that's fine, but it kind of sets you up and lowers the value of other artists, in my opinion, to lowball that much. And you see it all the time on freelancing sites and places like that, where someone's like, well, what I have here is I have a project where I want to have an illustrated children's book. And in that illustrated children's book, I want 6 or 7 pages fully illustrated and colored. It needs to be color, because if it's not color, it won't work. And I want you to, give me like 5 or 6 different variations of each page so I can pick what I like the best. And my budget's, $5 and a bag of chips. And you have all these people who are bidding on it, and they're going, absolutely. I can go ahead and I can do that for you. I can do that for you in less than a day, and I will do it for Coke and a bag of chips. I will do it for, your budget, which is $100. Whatever the budget is, it's something that, they're not going to get quality product, first of all. And second of all, it's just ridiculous that people think that art just happens just like that. Like, it's just a quick little thing. And for some artists it may, but not the artists that I know. I don't know any artists out there who can bust out a really, really good piece in an hour that's something a client would really, really need. If they're doing something personal, I've seen tons of artists who can do that. They can go ahead and they can, bust out a really good, quick, solid piece, and then they'll make, prints of it. They'll make pins of it, patches, stickers, anything that you can get on Redbubble and all that kind of stuff. They can do that, and it's because it's something that they just wanted to draw. If you watched my last live stream, you saw I was only working for about an hour on my Squidman character, or I don't even know what I'm calling him yet, to be honest with you. But I was working on that, and I only worked on it for about an hour, and it's not done. It's not even close to done, but I came out with something pretty respectable for very low amount of time, which was this guy here. And this is only about an hour of just kind of painting around and doing my thing. Not a huge issue. I'm going to be live streaming. Let's see here. Say 16th, so it's Wednesday. I'm going to be live streaming probably on Friday. I'm thinking. Kind of finishing him up, or at least working on him quite a bit. So make sure you check back then, because why not? My live streams are going to always simulcast on Twitch and YouTube simultaneously. So if you're not a Twitch fan because you just think it's for games or anything like that, head over to my YouTube channel. You can find me there at ThatStevenRice. Same thing on Twitch and everything like that. You can find me everywhere at ThatStevenRice. On my Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all those guys are over there. That's where they are, in that general vicinity. There we go. Now I'm pointing at it the proper way. Those. For ThatStevenRice. Boom. So, my camera awareness is terrible. So, back to the matter at hand. If say you're out there, and say you're not an artist, okay? All I ask of you is to just, if you need something done artistically, make sure you can afford to have something done artistically. Please. Like I mentioned earlier, most of my my pieces that I do for indie films and stuff, I usually charge $500 for the poster, and that's really, really low. And it's not that I'm trying to lowball, but the independent films I work on have very low budgets, so I'm willing to work with budgets, but you can't always expect the quality to be there at the same time either, if you're working on with certain things. Now I take a lot of pride in my work, and I had a client not too long ago where I finished the portrait, and the client had a couple changes that they kind of wanted, and they were like, I really think I just picked the wrong picture, is mostly what the client said. They just didn't feel like they picked the right picture for the anniversary, and it was something that was kind of in hindsight. Like it was a cute picture and all that kind of stuff, but it wasn't the right picture for art. To make it as simple as possible. My tablet stopped working, so I'm just rebooting. Reboot the tablet. And I looked back at the piece the very next morning. I went to sleep, and I woke up, and first thing I did was I opened it up, and I looked at the piece, and I was forlorn when I looked at it. I got really pissed off at myself because it was such a subpar piece, and I knew that I did it just to get it done, and that's not fair. That wasn't fair to the client, and it's not fair to myself to do something like that. So, and the reason I just kind of phoned it in was mostly because a lot of changes were happening in my life at that time. It was, I got fired from my day job because they were, sending jobs off places and all this other kind of stuff, and doing all that kind of fun things. I'll say it's fun. It's fun. But they were doing that kind of stuff to save money, or whatever their reasoning is. So I get let go. And coupled with that was the fact that on top of it all, I was losing my apartment with my 5-year-old son at the same time. And I know I needed the money, and it was one of those things where it's like, I really need this freaking money. I'm going to take the job, but my heart just wasn't in it. And I looked back on it, because it was one of those things like, yeah, it was only the very next day, but still, I sent it to the client being like, here's the portrait you just paid me $500 for. And my tablet's acting up again, don't mind me, I'm trying to fix that. So here's your $500 worth of art, isn't it lovely, kind of thing. And it was not. It was terrible. It was phoned in. It was not dynamic in even a little bit of a way. It was bad. It was a bad piece. So I messaged them right away. I was like, you said you thought you picked the wrong photo, and I respect that. And honestly, it wasn't the best photo, and I should have said that when you first gave it to me, but I didn't want to seem rude. It was just, there was issues with the lighting, and there was sun in their faces, so everybody was squinting, and I was trying to make up for that, and a lot of headache-inducing stuff with the picture. And it was, if I would have had that communication, everything would have been fine. I just would have been like, hey, I need a little bit better of a picture. Take your time on it. Spend a couple days, look for a better picture, and I got you. But I didn't do that, and then I turned in something that was horribly, terribly subpar. And because I have no fear, I'm going to show you everything. So the first portrait that I did for them, because it was an anniversary present, it was, I'm going to open up in a second here, but just brace yourselves for how bad this is, because I went overboard on contrast. I made a background that just didn't, it pulled attention away from the faces, and I think I did that subconsciously because I knew how bad the faces were. And so I got a new picture from the client, and then she went ahead and she gave me time to redo the portrait, and I did that all without extra charge. Things like that, have to happen. But here we go. Here's the piece, and it is absolutely abysmal. I can admit that. For one, I didn't think things through when I was trying to do stuff. She was squinting because the sun was in her face, because it's just a selfie. And I didn't adjust the nose to not be squinty anymore, but I fixed the eyes so that the eyes weren't squinting. So she kind of has this look on her face of somebody farted. And that's my fault. That was completely my fault because she didn't look like that in the picture. She looked like, hey, there's sun in my eyes. I have a squinty eye because the sun's in my flippin' eyes. And then the same thing with the mouth is she had to kind of like, when you're squinting on the sun, it kind of pulls your cheek up. And I didn't fix that either. And, same thing with her fiance. I put this out there being like, that's $500 worth of art. There we go. Give him my money. No. That's why like I said, the very, very next day, like I couldn't really sleep. It was maybe like 4 or 5 hours after I sent it to her and we had our small conversation. And I was just like, no. Like you can even see, I got so lazy with stuff that when I was putting the glow around this moon planet thing that I'm like an inch off because this is only like 16%. So we'll zoom into the 100% range. And you look, this is the edge of the moon. Right around there. Let me turn on. I can't see my cursor, but the edge of the moon, you can see it pretty clearly right around here. I'll just do that because my tablet's not working. Wow, that was bad. So that's around where the edge of the moon is right around there. And then, is my tablet actually working now? Somewhat. Okay. So here's the edge of the moon. All right, cool. Then why did I put the glow starting here? Like, what is that? What that's laziness. It's not paying attention to detail, and it was sloppy. So I was really upset that I would even do that to a client. So I spent about another day or so on and off, going ahead and making sure that this time I did it right, kind of thing. So she sent me a new picture. I like the concept of the moon being behind them, and she really wanted an emperor penguin included somewhere. I had it on her shirt last time. This time I put it on his shirt, but you can see with this one, you'll notice a couple of things that might seem kind of wrong, and I'll point them out and explain how they're not wrong. But you'll see with this one, it's a lot more subdued in the background. I'm going to use a bright yellow here. You see that? Sort of. Okay. Here we go. A bigger paintbrush. Yeah, that we can see. So I subdued the background. I made that a lot more in the background. It doesn't take away from things. It provides a glow around them. Instead of having the pink moon, I did the kind of pinkish, reddish tone around the border. one thing you'll notice is this eye is looking directly at the camera. This one isn't. It's just a lazy eye thing. I have it too. If you haven't noticed, I can just stare at you and you can see that this guy does whatever he wants. That's the way it goes. Same thing with this one. It's just one of those kind of things. So, I asked if they wanted me to fix that, and they want them to look the way they did in the picture, because that's them, And then I got this penguin guy here who I drew in because I needed Emperor Penguin, and now he's Hulk Hogan. So that's a really good do and don't. And another kind of thing where you have to be really self-aware. And I know I ramble. I don't really have... When I do these live streams, I don't have a plan at all. I just kind of start drawing, and if something strikes me, I'll go and work on it. So that was kind of one of those phoned-in pieces, and I really wish I did it right the first time, but, I made up for it. And I got them a piece that I think they really, really liked. So that's where we were with that. And then more recent piece I just finished yesterday was this one, which is just a bright, happy kind of piece. And this was bought by a parent for a grandchild. And I delivered the piece early yesterday, or late it was early yesterday or late on Monday night, and I haven't heard back whether they like it, whether they want changes or anything like that, but it's just the way it goes. Sometimes you don't hear back from clients afterwards, and I already have been paid for it, so not a huge issue with that. So it's just the way it kind of goes. And I do a lot of small little quick work for people, such as I have a friend named Reese who's a tattoo artist, and sometimes she gets really bogged down with a lot of stuff for clients, and occasionally she comes to me and she's just like, I just need a little bit of help with X, Y, or Z. And it'll be something really, really quick and simple for me to be able to do digitally, but not so quick for her to be able to do when it comes down to pen and ink and everything. I disappeared for a second. I'm sorry. That's what happens when I'm clicking around on stuff. So, she'll sometimes send me the sketch of something and be like, I just need this inked. So I'll just pull up Photoshop and I'll ink it quick. It takes me 5 minutes, and I go from there. And little things like that kind of teach you new techniques too, especially when it's being done as work for a tattoo, and you have to kind of pay attention to just the lines. So that's kind of where we're at. And I know I didn't get much done here because my tablet is acting up horribly. If you notice when I'm drawing, I use a lot of tilt. Tilting is kind of my bread and butter when it comes down to artwork. I need tilt because I draw very much like traditional, and my tilting is not working. So what I am going to do is I am going to end the stream for now. I know it's only been about an hour, but I will be back. I'm going to have some lunch and a drink because my throat is horribly parched from talking way too much for me at this moment. I'm still in the process of moving. You'll notice that my walls are pretty bare. I didn't put up any of my artwork yet or anything like that. I have a couple posters back there, and you can see my TV and all that kind of crap. During my move, a lot of stuff got stolen, which is terrible. So if you could at any point if you look up in that corner underneath where it says digital painting illustration, there's a link for donations. I kind of need a few things back to be able to get my channel back to where it was. I had a whole bunch of Blu-rays stolen. My insurance thankfully covered that. And then today I realized that a lot of my audio-video equipment has been stolen as well. But not the big expensive stuff. I still have all my webcams. I still have my microphone. I still have all of that stuff. But for some reason, whoever decided to take stuff from me, I don't know who it was, they decided that having a penchant for taking little things, I guess. I don't know, but like my umbrellas for my light stands and stuff like that to diffuse my light, which I'm not even using that right now because it's so bright in this apartment. I kind of don't need artificial light yet. When I start doing night streams, it might be different. But, you know, like, why take $10 umbrellas from Newer that you don't really need and not take anything else? Why take a $5 cable from Monoprice that I got just so I can hook my DSLR up to my computer so I can focus things while I'm at my computer, since I talk at my computer, you know? There's a lot of really little random things, and it's just strange when you do a move and stuff just goes missing, and a lot of people were like, well, you probably just misplaced it, and I'm like, yeah, well, it's one of those things. You can't really misplace two umbrellas when they're in a box marked audiovisual equipment. And it's like people didn't, like, they really didn't take anything really of value other than my Blu-rays, and they took a lot of expensive Blu-rays, some which I won't be able to replace because you can't find them anywhere, which is flippin' ridiculous. But that's the life, and I'm going to be going ahead and doing a lot more updates on the channel, as well as these random live streams. So if you're on YouTube right now, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, so that way you know when I do go live, because they will be random. My live streams are not really my focus of my content. They're just, hey, I'm working on a piece and I have some stuff to say, I'm going to go live. And same thing with Twitch. Make sure if you're watching me on Twitch right now at ThatStevenRice that you go ahead, you give me a follow, so well, you know when I go live as well there. Either one's perfectly fine. Like I said, the donation ticker is at the very top. Really, thanks for so much for kind of watching it and just kind of looking at my sketches and stuff while I was working on this piece. I'm going to eat my lunch. I'm going to go try to fix this tablet issue, which is really driving me insane because I need my tilt and I need my pressure sensitivity back, and it's just a Wacom thing, but you don't need to sit here and watch me do my troubleshooting and my reboots and stuff. So that's why I'm going to let it go. I bid thee adieu for the time being right now, and like I said, I'm going to be doing live streams randomly, but I'm going to find a schedule that works best for me to be able to make sure I get content out to you, hopefully on a every other day basis, even if it's a quick 5-10 minute video. I'm going to be doing a lot of blogging, just about my life as a single dad and an artist, trying to make a freelance career work when you're just being thrust into it. So I want to thank you for the 900th time, because I just repeat myself way too often, for watching the live stream today. And make sure to hit that notification bell, make sure to hit subscribe, make sure you hit the follow button on Twitch, so that way you know what's kind of going on. All of my non-live stream content will be up on YouTube exclusively, so please subscribe on YouTube. And you'll be seeing a new blog from me probably later today, if not early tomorrow. So with that all said, I am ThatStevenRice. You can find me at ThatStevenRice.com. You can find me on Behance. You can find me on Upwork, all that kind of stuff. If you have any projects that you want me to work on, I will be more than happy to go ahead and do so. And I have a little bit of an idea coming up soon, to where if you are on my live stream, you could win a chance for me to draw something for you in an upcoming video. So I really want you to spread the word. I want you to make sure that you let everybody know that I am back. I'm doing stuff again. And thanks so much for